Discover the incredible life-changing romance that will touch your heart like never before. In the heart of a Midwestern town, where the scent of fried food mingled with the crisp autumn leaves, Sarah fought fiercely against the tide of despair. The diner's neon sign flickered like a last gasp of hope, and she clutched her coffee-stained apron, tired but steadfast. Each day began before dawn and ended well after twilight, with her spirited 8-year-old son, Tyler, waiting at home, dreams dancing in his eyes. Her heart ached for him. She wanted more for his future than sleepless nights and hand-me-down clothes. One chilly afternoon, as she lugged a heavy trash bag to the curb, she noticed an unfamiliar truck parked next door. Its driver, a handsome war veteran named Jake, leaned against the vehicle, looking out of place yet strikingly familiar. The way the autumn sunlight caught his features ignited something inside her, even as shadows of sorrow lingered in his gaze. Just then, Tyler burst out of the house, racing to grab a fallen leaf, his laughter ringing pure and joyful. It was like a spark igniting the air, the first real connection they shared. At the church potluck later that week, Sarah and Jake unknowingly gravitated toward one another. Their initial meetings wrapped in nervous laughter and shared stories of the town's struggles. Each word exchanged became a small victory, binding them closer amidst the dwindling smiles of the townsfolk. But time played a cruel trick. News soon swept through their community that the factory, the heart of their livelihood, was set to close. Sarah's heart sank, every beat echoing with fear as she realized the precarious balance of her life. "Sarah, this could destroy us," Jake murmured, his fists clenching as they stood together. The desperation was palpable. But instead of caving, Sarah seized the moment. "We can't let this happen. We need to rally the community." The electricity between them crackled, but a barrier remained, his haunted past, and her stubborn independence were intertwined in unspoken fears. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they delved deeper into the struggle, the bond between Sarah and Jake intensified. They shared those quiet evenings filled with confessions, the weight of their burdens soaring with each unguarded exchange. But that weight became a point of contention as secrets simmered and fears began to fracture their connection. When they confronted the factory owner, a man whose smirk only fueled their fire, emotions reached a breaking point. Tears flowed, those of desperation, hope and truth, laying bare the soul of their town. Families gathered, breaths collective, as they stepped into the fray. Sarah felt a fire ignite within. Hope stitched together the pieces of their shared stories, while Jake's haunted eyes conflicted with determination. Just as the crescendo of resistance built, he pulled her aside. "We need to talk about what we're really risking here," he said, the depth of his gaze revealing a mix of vulnerability and grit. The ground trembled beneath them, and uncertainty hung heavy in the air. Would love be enough to heal their pasts, or would the weight of it drive them apart? In that electrifying moment, Sarah understood the heart of their town beat, not in fear but in connection. She faced Jake and took a breath, heart racing with possibility. The night glowed, waiting for their next move, aching to see if they would embrace the unknown together. The morning light slipped into Sarah's small kitchen, casting a warm glow over scattered papers, plans, petitions, and dreams she had clung to with all her might. Tyler was already bouncing around, excitement bubbling over for the day ahead. School was starting a week later, and his backpack was stuffed with supplies. "Mom, can we walk to the park after school?" his voice chimed, full of eager anticipation. "Of course, buddy," she replied, forcing a smile. Yet her mind was racing, caught between the joys of motherhood and the increasingly heavy burden of their town's troubles. Later, as she buttoned up her faded coat, the doorbell rang. She opened it to find Jake standing there, looking as if he had just stepped out of a magazine, the light catching the fierce determination in his eyes. "We need to talk," he said, his tone serious but tinged with a hint of softness. They settled on her porch, breathing in the crisp air. "The meeting at town hall," he began, glancing toward the street where the faded remnants of summer clung in the air. "People are worried, Sarah. They feel lost. But we can't just talk. We need an action plan. She studied him, trying to keep up with the storm of thoughts swirling in her head. Jake, what if we actually bring the community together? What if this isn't just about the factory? What if it's about who we are, our roots? The passion behind her words surprised her. It felt good, even revolutionary. He nodded, then smiled, an infectious grin that lit up his face. You're right. We could organize rallies, get the kids involved, have a talent show. Everyone has something to contribute. The warmth between them was undeniable, but it was quickly eclipsed by the looming reality of their situation. Later that night, as Sarah hung the freshly laundered clothes on the line, she was interrupted by Tyler's tiny hand gripping her leg. Mom, when are you and Jake going to get married? His innocent question hung in the air, and Sarah's heart skipped a beat. What was he seeing? Was there something real between her and Jake? It was too soon for her to entertain the thought. Honey, we're just friends helping each other, she replied, forcing a lightness into her words. Just friends? But you laughed together. That feels like more. The challenge in his voice struck her deep. Could it be possible? That weekend they set to work, canvassing the town, asking for support, collecting stories, and planning their campaign against the factory closure. The diner buzzed with new energy as the townsfolk began to rally. Prepared meals were shared, and laughter mingled with discussions about solutions. The community, once fragmented, began to come together, a tapestry of shared struggles and hopes. In the midst of it all, Sarah caught Jake watching her as she spoke passionately to a group of mothers. His gaze was filled with admiration, melting the tension that had accumulated between them. For the first time, her heart raced not from fear but from possibility. But as they gained momentum, shadows from Jake's past began to creep back in. His conversations at night grew quieter, his laughter fainter. Sarah could see the weight he carried, the hesitance in his steps. One evening, while folding laundry, she found herself staring at the pale blue shirt he had left behind, a reminder of the man she was beginning to care for. Jake, she called softly that night, we need to talk about what's holding you back. He turned from the window, the moonlight illuminating the storm brewing in his eyes. I can't promise I'll always be strong enough to fight for this. For us. The air between them thickened with unspoken fears and unfulfilled needs. But before she could respond, Tyler burst through the door, bringing with him the lightness of innocence, unaware of the emotional maelstrom brewing around him. Would they manage to overcome their fears and reforge the connections that were just beginning to blossom? As the days grew shorter and the nights colder, they stood on the brink of a turning point. The strength of their community rose like a tide, but would it be strong enough to bridge the distance between Sarah and Jake? The following week passed in a blur of meetings and gatherings. The town hall became their second home, filled with vibrant discussions fueled by a shared purpose. Sarah saw her neighbors transform, once timid voices now bold and intertwined, standing together like a fortress against the waves of uncertainty crashing over their lives. Jake worked tirelessly alongside her, his presence like a steady current, but the hidden weight in his eyes was becoming more pronounced. They often exchanged glances that echoed unspoken thoughts, but the words remained stuck in the space between them, heavy and unresolved. One afternoon, as they sorted through a pile of flyers in Sarah's living room, Tyler burst in, his cheeks flushed with excitement. Mom! Jake! Look what I made! He held out a brightly colored card, scribbled with crayon and decorated with stars. Sarah's heart warmed at the sight. What is it, buddy? A superhero card. It's for you, Jake, 'cause you're helping our town. Jake's expression softened, and a genuine smile broke across his face. Thanks, kiddo. I'll hang it up for sure. He took the card, his fingers brushing against Tyler's hand, and in that moment, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. Yet as the days rolled on, that flicker seemed to dim. One evening, after another long day of rallying support, Jake found himself pacing her porch. The calm after the storm had settled with an uneasy silence. Sarah stepped outside, sensing the shift in the air. Jake, what is going on? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. He paused, glancing at the night sky filled with stars. It's Daniel. The name hung heavy between them. Daniel, Jake's younger brother, had struggled with addiction and the grip it had on their family. The scars of that battle lingered, often surfacing in Jake's thoughts, now darkened with doubt about the future. I care about you, Sarah, he continued, words tumbling out in a rush. But I'm scared that I'll fail again. I can't let you get hurt if things go wrong. Her heart ached. But Jake, this isn't just about you. We're all in this together. She leaned closer, fostering a connection through her gaze. You can't let your past define your future. You're not alone anymore. His composure wavered. She could see the war raging within him, the struggle of wanting to protect her while fearing his own inadequacy. Before he could respond, Tyler interrupted, hopping out of the house with a plate of cookies in hand. Yum. Mom, can we have a cookie party? You can stay too, Jake. The sudden shift from heavy conversation to Tyler's innocent request made Sarah chuckle, breaking the tension. In that moment, Jake seemed to breathe easier, his smile returning as Tyler tugged him inside. As cookies were shared and laughter filled the kitchen, Sarah caught Jake giving her a sideways glance. There was something more there, a spark she hadn't seen before. But the happiness was short-lived. That evening, as Sarah tucked Tyler into bed, she overheard murmurs from the living room. Jake was on the phone, his voice strained as he spoke to someone about decisions that contradicted everything they had worked for. What is happening? She thought, heart sinking as she approached the door to listen. He didn't see her there, and the weight of his conversation hovered like a dark cloud, echoing in her mind. When he hung up, Jake turned around and saw her. I was going to tell you. Tell me what, Jake? That you're backing out? A silence stretched painfully, the cacophony of emotions swirling between them. Could everything they built come crashing down this quickly? Would they ever truly move past the shadows holding him back? The moment felt fragile, the air thick with tension and unexpressed needs. They stood at the brink of a choice that could either unite them or tear them apart. As evening settled and the stars began to twinkle, two hearts pondered their uncertain futures. What would they decide, and could love truly conquer the haunting burdens of the past? The chill in the air carried an unsettling weight, clinging to Sarah as she faced Jake. Her heart was racing, and every second stretched into an eternity. The silence between them was almost unbearable. She could feel the walls closing in, but she fought to keep her composure. Backing out? He finally whispered, hurt evident in his eyes. I didn't mean that. It's just Daniel's situation as well. It's complicated. Complicated? She shook her head, frustration bubbling up. This isn't just some casual decision. We've come so far together. You can't just bail because of your brother. We're all counting on you. I know, he whispered, his voice trembling. But I'm scared of becoming a burden. I can't let that happen to you too. His words pierced through her, and she felt the tears prick at the corners of her eyes. You're not a burden. You're a part of this community. You're part of me, Jake. He looked down, hands shoved deep in his pockets, his conflicted heart laid bare. Just then the front door squeaked open, breaking the tension. Tyler appeared, rubbing sleep from his eyes. What's wrong, Mom? Why are you sad? Sarah forced a smile, kneeling beside her son. Everything's okay, buddy. Just some grown-up stuff. She glanced back at Jake, silently pleading for him to join them in the moment of light. Hey, Tyler, Jake stepped forward, his demeanor shifting as he knelt to the boy's level. What do you think makes a superhero? Tyler's face brightened, his innocent silliness radiating. I think they help people and make them smile. And they never give up, even when it's hard. Jake smiled at the determination swirling in Tyler's words. Yeah, just like you're doing with your superhero card. Sarah watched the two of them, her heart swelling. Yet the shadow of doubt still loomed in the room. Jake, what if being a superhero means facing our fears instead of running away? She urged gently. He hesitated, the flicker of recognition crossing his features. Perhaps her words resonated, opening the door a crack in the fortress he had built around himself. But his hold on the past was still tight. What if I mess it all up? What if I fail again? Then we'll face it together, she replied, pulling Tyler into a side hug. You won't be alone. Jake searched her eyes, the tension easing just slightly. In that shared moment, hope flickered anew. I need to think, he murmured, stepping away as if reclaiming his space. The warmth of their connection brushed past him like a fleeting shadow. Just let me figure some things out. Okay, she replied, feeling the chasm between them widen once more. She wished she could protect him from his hurt, but that wasn't her to carry. He needed to face his fears just like they all did. Tyler, sensing the weight of the moment, piped up innocently. "Can we go back to the cookies? They're getting cold." "Of course." Sarah laughed softly, chasing away the heaviness. But as she turned to walk back, she couldn't shake the foreboding feeling that something bigger was at play. As they settled in the kitchen again, Jake remained distant, lost in his thoughts. Sarah wondered what specifics were swirling in his mind now, what decisions could change everything. Then, as if sensing her gaze, he met her eyes once more, a flicker of determination igniting in his expression. "I'll talk to Daniel," he announced suddenly. Her breath caught. "You will?" "Yeah." He nodded, resolute. "But it could go really wrong. What if it goes right?" she suggested, a spark of hope igniting within her. As they exchanged glances filled with uncertainty yet paved with a hint of possibility, a choice hung in the air, both terrifying and exhilarating. Would this be the turning point they desperately needed? Or would it lead them down an even darker path? The kitchen, filled with warmth and laughter, suddenly felt like the eye of a storm. They were on the verge of something monumental, where every decision carried the weight of their intertwined lives. Tomorrow everything could change, and in that uncertainty was both dread and inexplicable excitement. Would Jake embrace his own power, or would the fear of the past keep him shackled in place? The night stretched on, thick with anticipation, as two hearts remained poised at the precipice of transformation. The morning light crept through the curtains, casting gentle rays on Jake's face as he slowly stirred awake. His heart felt heavy with the weight of decisions looming over him, but the quiet of the house offered a momentary reprieve. He rolled over, glancing at the clock. It was early, too early to wake up the world around him. Still, sleep eluded him. He thought back to last night. Sarah's words clung to him like the cool morning air. What if it goes right? The hope in her eyes had ignited something deep inside him, a flicker of courage that had been dormant for far too long. But could he really do it? Could he confront Daniel? The mere thought twisted his stomach into knots. A soft voice broke through his thoughts. "Mommy, I'm ready for breakfast." Tyler's cheerful call was infectious, and Jake couldn't help but smile as he made his way to the kitchen. He found Sarah already bustling around, flipping pancakes with effortless grace. The sweet aroma filled the air, momentarily washing away his anxiety. "Good morning," Sarah greeted, her voice bright. "How do you sleep?" "Not great," he admitted, dragging a chair out to sit. "I keep thinking about Daniel. What if he doesn't want to talk?" She paused, a look of understanding passing between them. "Maybe he just needs the right push. You can be that person for him." Jake swallowed hard, the weight of her faith in him both comforting and daunting. "What if I mess up?" he murmured, pouring syrup over the stack of golden pancakes. "Then we'll deal with it together," she said, her tone steady. "Just like we talked about." With a determined nod, he watched as Tyler bounced up to the table, his face smeared with excitement. "Can I put sprinkles on mine?" "Absolutely," Sarah replied, her eyes sparkling. "Make it count, buddy." Jake felt the tension lighten a fraction, replaced by the warmth of family. As they shared breakfast, laughter filled the room, momentarily masking the storm he felt brewing inside. Once the dishes were cleared and the kitchen returned to a semblance of order, Jake found himself standing by the doorway, the weight of his decision lingering. It was time. Plucking up the remnants of his courage, he turned to Sarah. "I'm going to do it. I'm going to call Daniel." Her expression shifted, a mixture of pride and concern flooding her features. "I believe in you, Jake. Just be honest. Remember, you don't have to carry the weight alone." A warm rush of gratitude flooded him. He felt less alone in this world. A battle fought not just within himself, but with the love of those around him. He grabbed his phone, his hands trembling as he scrolled through the contacts until he found his brother's name. The ringing tone pulsed in his ear, each second feeling like a small eternity. He could almost feel Sarah's presence beside him, a quiet strength urging him onward. Just as he was about to hang up, a familiar voice broke through. "Jake? Is everything okay?" "Hey, Daniel." The words fell into place with surprising clarity as he stood at the threshold of vulnerability. "Can we talk?" As the conversation unfolded, Jake felt the first inklings of hope stirring amid the uncertainty. They discussed their past, fears, and for the first time the possibility of healing. It was difficult, but each word carved away at the wall between them. By the time they hung up, Jake emerged from the conversation deflated but alive. The burden of anxiety lifted, if only slightly. He stepped back into the living room, where the morning sun poured through the window. There was still a long road ahead, and the journey would come with its challenges. "How did it go?" Sarah asked, watching him with keen eyes. Jake looked at her, a deep breath escaping his lips. "I think it might be okay." But even as the words left his mouth, he realized they were just the beginning. The conversation had opened a door, but he was still standing at the threshold, unsure of what lay beyond. And that uncertainty hit him like a tidal wave. The storm was nowhere near over. What if Daniel couldn't find the strength to change? What if it shattered everything they built? As the thought settled in his mind, Jake felt a spark of determination ignite once more. He was ready to take on the world and all its messiness. "Mommy, can we go to the park?" Tyler called, breaking the moment. "Sure," Sarah responded, enthusiasm returning to her voice. Jake felt a smile break through the clouds of doubt. He wouldn't face whatever came next alone. Family, love, and connection were his strongest allies. With Tyler leading the way, Jake remembered they weren't just moving forward in fear. They were moving forward with hope. But as they stepped into the sunlight, a flicker of doubt gripped him once more. What would happen next? What if the truth was far more complicated than he anticipated? Those questions lingered like shadows just at the edge of his mind, waiting to be answered. As they walked to the park, Jake felt the warmth of the sun on his back and Tyler's laughter dancing around him. Each step on the familiar path was a reminder of his own childhood. A simpler time when worries were few and joy came from the little things. "Race you to the swings," Tyler shouted, dashing ahead, his little legs pumping with energy. Jake watched him go, that spark of innocence igniting a joy in his chest. But alongside that joy was a weight that he couldn't shake off. Would this simple moment prove to be the calm before another storm? "Hey, wait up," he called, taking off after him. The tiny park was just a short walk away, its bright colors and laughter beckoning like a refuge from the troubles that stirred within him. When they arrived, the tall oak trees provided a cool contrast to the sun-drenched grass. Sarah joined him on the bench, her gaze following Tyler as he climbed onto the swing. "Look at him," she said softly, pride shining in her eyes. "He is so happy." Jake nodded but felt a knot in his throat. "I just want to make sure he stays happy. I don't want any of my issues to touch him." Sarah reached for his hand, intertwining their fingers, her touch grounding him. "You're not those issues. You're doing your best and it's already showing. Look at the way he loves you." In that moment a warmth spread through Jake, but it was quickly shadowed by doubts creeping back. He hadn't yet processed his conversation with Daniel. The seeds of change were planted, but would they bloom in the harsh realities of their past? What if he learned that Daniel was still lost in his darker days? "Do you think he'll really try?" Jake's voice was barely above a whisper, the worry slipping out before he could rein it back in. Sarah's expression shifted to one of deep understanding. "People surprise you, Jake. Sometimes it takes the right moment, the right person to help them see the light." Tyler let out a jubilant squeal as he swung higher, his small body pumping to gain momentum, and for a brief moment, Jake felt that potential energy crackling in the air. He wanted to believe it. He wanted to believe that Daniel could find his way. Just then, Tyler soared high enough that he was level with the branches above, and Jake couldn't help but laugh. "Look at you go, buddy." With that laughter, Sarah nudged him. "Now that's more like it. Don't forget to enjoy the moment." Jake forced a smile but still felt a shadow cast over them. The nostalgia of this place blended with the uncertainty of his future, and it gnawed at him. They could be so close to reaching a breakthrough, but fear of it all slipping away lingered. He tried to shake it off. "'Kay. Tomorrow I'll reach out again. Maybe see how he's processing everything. But what if it's too soon if he isn't ready?" Sarah leaned in, her brow furrowing. "What if it's the perfect time? Sometimes it's about taking the leap even when the ground feels shaky." With those words, Jake allowed himself to believe in the possibility of something new, something transformative. Just as the afternoon sun began to dip, casting long shadows over the park, they headed back. Tyler's little hand firmly held his as they walked. Jake looked down at him, feeling a swell of hope mixed with fear. What if this journey wasn't just for Daniel? What if it changed everything for him, too? Suddenly, Jake's phone buzzed in his pocket. The warm, tender moment they had felt just a second ago was replaced with a jolt of anxiety. Who could it be now? He pulled it out, glancing at the screen. Instantly, his heart raced at the sight of Daniel's name flashing at him. A moment of hesitation hit him hard. What was this message about? More revelations? Or was it a pitfall waiting to happen? With a deep breath, he opened the message, ready to face whatever came next. Would it be a lifeline or another heartache? As he read, an unexpected chill crept down his spine. Jake's eyes skimmed the message, his breath catching in his throat. "Hey, can we talk?" It read. There was an urgent simplicity to the words that set his heart racing. The uncertainty fell heavy on him, a mixture of relief and dread swirling in his chest. This could be the moment he had both longed for and dreaded. He looked at Sarah, whose eyes narrowed with curiosity, and he whispered, "It's Daniel. He wants to talk." "Do you want to?" she asked, squeezing his hand tighter, her concern evident. Jake swallowed hard, the knot in his throat tightening again. This was a chance to mend the past, to perhaps help Daniel find his footing. But what if it spiraled into chaos? What if instead of clarity it led to more fallout? "I don't know," he admitted, still staring at his phone. "What if it's too much? Only you can decide that." She leaned closer, her voice soft. "But remember, you're stronger than you think. You faced the storms before. You're not the same person you were back then." Taking a deep breath, he let her words sink in. Their relationship, the moments they had fought through, and the laughter shared had all led him here. There was a flicker of hope. It ignited the instinct to reach out, as if the universe was nudging him forward. "Okay," he finally said, a sense of calm mingling with his anxiety. "I'll do it." "Do it now," Sarah encouraged, her eyes reflecting his uncertainty, but also her unwavering support. Determined, Jake typed a response. "Sure. When and where?" He hit send, and in that moment everything shifted. The world around him faded, replaced by the whirlwind of his thoughts. A few heartbeats later, a reply buzzed back. "How about the old coffee shop? 5 p.m.? The words were simple, yet they felt like a heavyweight in the air. The old coffee shop. A place brimming with memories, quiet whispers, hushed laughter, and fraught conversations. Would this be another one of those moments? A reckoning wrapped in coffee cups and the familiar scent of espresso? "I'm sorry, I need to go," he said to Sarah, feeling a rush of responsibility, and his heart pounded louder in his chest. Every second felt like an eternity as they stood up from the bench, Tyler still swinging joyfully behind them, oblivious to the wave of emotion crashing over his father. "Are you going to be okay?" Sarah asked, her concern painting her brow with lines of worry. "I don't know," Jake replied honestly, his voice heavy. "But I have to try. Just remember, don't bear the weight alone." "You have us," she said, squeezing his hand once more before he pulled away. As he walked away, the sun dipped lower in the sky, shadows stretching like the doubts clawing at him. With each step towards the coffee shop, he felt apprehensive yet determined. The calm he craved battled with the storm of emotions boiling just beneath the surface. Jake entered the shop, the familiar bell chiming softly as he stepped inside. The place was warm, filled with the aroma of coffee and the soft murmur of conversations around him. His heart raced as he spotted Daniel at a corner table, looking much the same yet burdened by a shadow of his own. Jake's stomach twisted as he approached, every thought pounding in his head. What would he say? What did Daniel need? Could this be the beginning of something healing? Or would it blow up in their faces? As he sat down, their eyes met, and for a moment time stood still. Now, with the air thick with unsaid words and broken histories, Jake sensed this conversation could change everything or lead them to a bitter end. What would Daniel share that could redirect the path they were both on? Jake's heart raced, uncertainty dancing with hope. Jake's fingers fidgeted with the edge of the table as he took in Daniel's familiar yet changed face. Years of silence and strained memories hung between them like an invisible curtain. He didn't quite know what to do next. How should he break the ice? The past felt like a stone wall, daunting and cold. "Hey," Daniel finally said, breaking the silence that felt more like an eternity. His voice, thick with emotion, pushed against the heaviness of the moment. "Hey," Jake replied, his heart pounding. He searched for something more to say, but the words abandoned him. Daniel shifted in his seat, his expression a mix of hope and fear. Thanks for coming. He held Jake's gaze, an intensity there that made time freeze again. I didn't know if you would. I had to, Jake said, his voice steadying as he found the courage within. We used to mean something to each other. Still do in a way. Daniel looked down, nodding slowly. I messed things up. I thought if I reached out, maybe. He paused, swallowing hard. Maybe we could talk about it. Jake leaned forward, the urgency of Daniel's words igniting something within him. What happened, Daniel? You disappeared without a word. Daniel's eyes glistened, reflecting the light of the worn-out coffee shop. I thought about reaching out so many times, but I was scared. Scared of what you'd think, scared of facing the mess I created. A rush of emotions flooded through Jake. The anger was there, of course, but layered beneath it was concern. You were my best friend. You should have trusted me. I know, Daniel whispered, his voice cracking slightly. I thought distance would help me sort things out. He looked up, meeting Jake's gaze again. But it didn't. It only made things worse. Jake shifted again, crossing his arms over the table as if it could shield him from the hurt. I wanted to be there for you during that time. We could have faced it together. I know that now. Daniel's voice trembled with sincerity. I thought running away was the answer, but it only hurt me more. He hesitated, the weight of his confession hanging in the air. I went through some dark times, Jake. I lost sight of everything I held dear, including you. A swell of empathy rushed over Jake. He could see the pain etched on Daniel's face, the regret, the longing. So what now? You're reaching out after all this time, but what do you want? His voice softened as he asked, what do you need? Daniel looked down again, breathing deeply as if he were about to say something monumental. I need forgiveness. I want to rebuild not just our friendship but my life too. It's been shattered, and I don't know how to put the pieces back together without you. Jake's heart ached at those words. He knew the struggle of feeling broken, world shattered. You aren't alone, Daniel. But you have to meet me halfway. I can't just forget the past, and neither should you. Daniel nodded slowly, his eyes shining with unshed tears. I understand. And I'm ready to try. I want to be honest. About everything. The sincerity in Daniel's voice resonated in a way Jake hadn't expected. Maybe their past didn't have to be a dark cloud over them. Maybe, just maybe, it could be the soil for something new. As the minutes ticked by, they exchanged words, laying seeds for their future. Yet as laughter broke the tension, Jake felt a whisper of fear, a question nestled in the corners of his mind. Would Daniel be able to truly change? Or would this all be for nothing? With every revelation, Jake dared to hope, but lingering doubts danced like shadows in his heart. Would he find the strength to forgive and start anew? Or was this just the beginning of a more complicated chapter? The coffee shop hummed with the soft murmur of other patrons, but Jake was only aware of Daniel across the table. The weight of the years spent apart pressed heavily on his chest, yet in this moment, there was an undeniable attempt at connection. Daniel's vulnerability reached out like a lifeline, and Jake found himself grasping at the hope they might mend what had once been broken. I've thought about what you said, Jake began, glancing down at his coffee, about facing the past together. His heart raced. But how can we do that if I don't know everything? You disappeared, Daniel. The silence stretched between them. Daniel's jaw tightened, and for a fleeting moment, Jake feared he had pushed too hard. But then Daniel took a deep breath, as if steeling himself for a confession. I fell into a pit, Jake. I was drowning in my choices, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The money problems, they spiraled, and I turned to people I shouldn't have. They made me believe I could fix everything if I just kept running. He looked out the window, eyes searching for a glimpse of a world that felt too far away. And I lost myself completely. Jake stifled a gasp, feeling his anger flare anew. What did you think would happen? Running away only left you more alone. Daniel's gaze snapped back to Jake, and his expression was a mixture of shame and defiance. I know. I realize that now. But at the time I thought I could cut everything off and it would make it easier. He clenched his fists on the table, desperation spilling through. I never wanted to lose you. And yet you did. Jake's voice trembled. He felt the sting of disappointment, but it was overshadowed by a strange urge to help. We could have fought together. Yes, Daniel exclaimed, his eyes lighting up with a flicker of hope. That's what I want now. I want to rebuild. I don't just want my life back. I want you in it. At that moment, the sincerity in Daniel's eyes pierced through Jake's defenses. The realization washed over him. This plea felt different. They were two people standing at the edge of a storm, ready to face whatever came next. Jake's heart softened. What do you need from me, really? He asked, leaning closer. I know that forgiveness won't be easy, but I need to understand what you're asking. Just the chance to prove it. Daniel's voice thickened, drowned in vulnerability. I can't change overnight. I get that. But I'm here to try. Can we meet again? Maybe start slow? See where this goes. Jake took a deep breath. The fear of the past lingered, but an ember of hope sparked within him. Sure, but we'll have to be honest. No more hiding. Absolutely, Daniel replied, nodding fervently. Their shared laughter broke the weight of the moment, weaving a subtle thread of possibility between them. But even as the tension eased, an unsettling thought bubbled to the surface in Jake's mind. What if this was all an illusion? What if he invested his heart only to find Daniel slipping away again? As Daniel's laughter danced through the air, a knot of anxiety tightened in Jake's chest. Could he trust this fragile new beginning? With each moment, hope and fear wrestled furiously within him, leaving only one question echoing round Jake's mind: what if, despite their intentions, they were forever trapped in the cycle of pain and longing? The barista called out an order, breaking the spell momentarily, and in that instant Jake knew this was just the beginning. But of what? As Jake and Daniel wrapped up their coffee meeting, the warmth from their restored connection felt surreal against the backdrop of their fractured past. Jake stood at a crossroads, momentarily awash with hope and hesitation. Could he truly reconcile a relationship fractured by silence, disappointment, and distance? Daniel, eyes glimmering with cautious optimism, rose from his seat. I'll keep you posted. I'll do this right, Jake, he promised, and for the first time in a long while Jake believed him. Just don't shut me out again, okay? Jake said, his voice steady. I won't, Daniel replied, a sincerity underscoring the weight of his words. As Jake walked back to the park, a mixture of relief and lingering doubt settled in his chest. He could still feel the echoes of their conversation, raw and vulnerable yet filled with the possibility of healing. The air was fresh, the sun warm against his skin, reminding him that perhaps new beginnings were feasible, even in the aftermath of such pain. When Tyler greeted him with a radiant smile, the joy washing over him reminded him why he fought so hard for connection. I got a big leaf. Look, Tyler said, holding out the brilliant orange and red foliage he had carefully picked. That's awesome, buddy. Jake crouched down to eye level, embracing the moment and soaking in Tyler's exuberance. Nearby, Sarah observed, her own smile illuminating the joy that had struggled to pierce through their worries. How did it go? She asked, nudging closer. Better than expected, Jake replied, his heart surprisingly lighter. But it's going to take time. He has to really want it. And he does, she said, her excitement contagious. You took a huge step today, Jake. It's not easy, but you faced your fears. Looking down, he caught Tyler still hugging the leaf close to his chest. He felt that familiar spark of hope flickering again, knowing this moment was both fragile and powerful, a lesson learned, a bond renewed. Over the next few weeks, life settled into a new rhythm. Daniel reached out regularly, making small gestures to show he was serious about mending their relationship. Each interaction bore the weight of their past, yet the air felt lighter, as if the sun had finally broken through the clouds. Jake saw a glimmer of his old friend emerging from the shadows, a man willing to confront his demons rather than take flight. With Sarah's support, Jake navigated his fears, finding strength in their growing family bond. They often visited the park together, sharing laughter as Tyler swung higher and higher, while they would discuss hopes and fears amidst tree-canopied tranquility. Until one bright early evening, as he leaned back on the bench watching Tyler play, a thought made its way to the forefront of his mind. They were right where they needed to be, a community rising together, bolstered by love and resilience. One afternoon, Tyler brought home another leaf, this one even larger, more vibrant, bursting with color. It was a sign. This is the best leaf ever. It reminds me that everything can be beautiful, he exclaimed, eyes shimmering. That's true, buddy, Jake said, smiling with newfound warmth as he turned to Sarah. Sometimes we just need to give it time. Despite the shadows of doubt lingering in the background, he felt ready to step forward, aware that their hearts were intertwined in this journey. As days turned to weeks and weeks to months, Jake witnessed how vulnerability transformed not only him but everyone around him. Daniel was finding his way again, slowly learning to embrace life beyond addiction, slowly piecing together the friendship they once had. Just when Jake felt uncertainty creeping back in, one phone call would change everything. "Jake, I got the job," Daniel exclaimed on the other end, pure excitement radiating through the line. Hearing those words poured warmth into Jake's chest, hope for their futures blossoming alongside the love Sarah had fostered. "Let us celebrate," he shouted, and with Tyler's exuberant laughter echoing in the background, they made plans, renewal and reconciliation spilling forth vibrant and alive. That evening, as they prepared for another gathering with the town, Jake felt like he was standing on the precipice of something remarkable. The obstacles they had faced, the tears shed, all led them here, surrounded by warmth and laughter, by people who mattered most. Here's to new beginnings. Sarah raised a glass amidst the chatter of friends, laughter mingling with the scent of home-cooked meals. Jake smiled, heart full. They had each other, overcoming barriers one step at a time. As he watched Tyler weave through the crowd, he understood deeply. No matter the shadows they faced, love could turn them into individualized stories of hope. Hand in hand with Sarah and their son, leaning into the future together, Jake realized sometimes the scariest leap could yield the boldest landings. And in that moment, the healing power of community and family rang true, echoing hope through every heart. Now, as our story concludes, let me impart a crucial message. You need to subscribe now to catch the next exclusive stories that await. This is the moment to show your support by leaving a like. Do it now. It truly makes a difference. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. And please, don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support is vital, and only true fans understand the importance of these actions.